echoed with the clinking of silverware and casual cruelty. "So," my mother's voice cut through the air like glass, "how does it feel to marry a man who can't even afford a decent car?" Laughter burst around the table like it was rehearsed. My father shook his head, his fork dangling midair. "You really downgraded, Layla," he added. "You went from scholarships to scraping pennies. What happened to our golden girl?" I didn't speak. I couldn't. My hands stayed locked in my lap, fingers knotted so tightly my knuckles whitened. I forced a small smile and looked down at my plate. Salmon I didn't touch, garnished with humiliation. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos. And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us, what would you do in this situation? Be honest. Tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. Across the table, my younger sister Nicole leaned back in her chair, wine glass raised smugly. "Let me guess. He's one of those entrepreneurs with big dreams and no income?" "Poor and proud," Uncle George laughed. "That's always the worst combination." I didn't flinch, not outwardly, but something burned in my chest so deep, so sharp, it nearly choked me. My husband, Cole, wasn't flashy. He didn't wear designer. He didn't talk about money. And I never asked. But poor? They didn't know him. Not really. 2 hours later, they would. I stayed quiet. Let them finish their roast, their wine, their insults. And just when my mother stood to serve dessert, the doorbell rang. "I'll get it," I said softly, rising before anyone could stop me. I opened the door. There he was. Cole stood there in a tailored charcoal gray suit I'd never seen him wear before. Not the beat-up hoodie, not the jeans. No, this was different. His dark hair was slicked back, clean lines, expensive cologne, cufflinks that shimmered under the porch light. Behind him, a black Rolls-Royce ghosted the curb. "Sorry I'm late," he said calmly, voice low and steady. "Had to finish signing off on a new acquisition. Turns out buying 2 companies in one morning takes longer than expected." My breath caught. I blinked. His eyes met mine. "Ready to go back in?" I nodded slowly. When we entered the dining room, every head turned. And then everything changed. Nicole's wine glass nearly slipped. My father's jaw tightened. My mom's eyes darted between the car outside and the man beside me like she was watching her house burn in slow motion. "Who is that?" my uncle whispered. Cole walked in like he owned the room, and in a way, he did. "Good afternoon," he said, his voice effortlessly commanding. "Sorry I couldn't make it earlier. My board meeting with Tesla ran over." Silence. Dead, hollow silence. Nicole choked on her wine. Cole reached into his coat pocket and handed me a slim black envelope. "Thought you might want to see the final numbers," he said casually. "The trust is officially worth 9 figures now. Not bad for a poor man, right?" My hand shook as I opened the envelope. Inside, neatly stacked documents confirmed what I suspected but never asked. Net worth, $3.1 billion. Suddenly, the table full of vultures looked like deer caught in headlights. I turned slowly toward my parents. "You called me useless," I said quietly. "You mocked my husband, laughed at our life, judged my choices. But you never once asked how happy I was." Cole stepped forward. "And you certainly never asked about me." My father tried to recover. "Well, Cole, we were just what?" Cole said, his tone like ice wrapped in silk. "You were judging your daughter based on your own hollow standards. Money, appearances, control." My mom's face paled. "We didn't know." "You didn't want to know," I said firmly. Cole turned to me, smiled gently, and whispered, "We can go if you want. We don't owe them anything." But I wasn't done yet. I stepped closer to the table. "I came here hoping to be part of this family again. I see now I never really was." And with that, we turned and walked out, past their stunned silence, past the luxury they thought they owned, into a different world, one they never imagined I belonged to. But I did, and from that moment on, everything changed. We didn't even make it out of the driveway before my phone rang. I stared at the screen. Mom, the same woman who just 15 minutes ago watched me be humiliated in front of our entire extended family, now suddenly remembered my number. I let it ring, then silenced it. Cole glanced at me as he drove, one hand on the wheel of the Rolls, the other reaching over to hold mine. "You okay?" I looked out the window at the house fading in the distance. "Not yet, but I will be." He nodded, not pressing. That's what I loved about him. He never needed to fix me, just gave me space to rebuild. But inside, I wasn't just hurt, I was livid, and I wasn't done with them. We got back to our penthouse apartment overlooking the skyline. Cole had bought the place months ago under a holding company name. He liked privacy, never wanted people to know who he was unless they earned it. But now I wanted the truth to burn. I sat at our marble kitchen island, still in my simple sundress that they all mocked, and opened my laptop. My cousin Megan had posted a group photo from lunch on Facebook. The caption? "Big family lunch today. Lots of laughter." Yeah, at my expense. I clicked share and added my own message. Today my family laughed at my husband for not being rich enough. They didn't know he was worth $3.1 billion. They laughed, then they went pale. It blew up in an hour. By nightfall, it had 80,000 shares. My inbox was full of reporters, people from school, strangers. Everyone wanted to know more, but I didn't. Post for clout. I posted to document. They tore me down in public. Now they'd be seen in public too. The next day, my father showed up at my office. Yes, my office. Not Cole's. Mine. I ran a growing wellness brand I built from scratch, while they all assumed I was mooching off my husband. They never asked where my income came from. Just assumed I didn't have any. My assistant walked in, confused. "There's a Mr. Campbell here. Says he's your father?" I took a breath. "Send him in." Dad entered looking thinner somehow, eyes darker, not from age, just from being exposed. "Layla," he began, "we need to talk." I stayed seated. "Go ahead." He sat down awkwardly across from me. "Look, we were just surprised. That car, the suit, the billionaire thing, none of us knew. You have to understand." "You mean I have to forgive you for humiliating me?" I said calmly. "That's not fair." "Isn't it?" I cut him off. "You let them laugh at me. You led the laughter, tore apart my husband, my marriage. And why? Because his clothes weren't flashy? Because he didn't play your stupid little ego games?" He looked away. "I never asked for money. Never asked for your approval. All I ever wanted was respect." My dad's voice softened. "We didn't know what kind of man he was." "Because you never asked," I snapped. "Cole never flaunted who he was, but you all assumed that made him less. Turns out, it just made him better." There was a long pause. Then he did something I hadn't seen in years. He looked ashamed. "Your mom, she's upset." "She should be," I said. "She spat venom and now she's tasting it." He stood to leave, then hesitated. "For what it's worth, I'm proud of you." I didn't reply. Not yet. I needed to see change before I accepted apologies. That night, Cole and I sat on the rooftop balcony. The sky glittered over the city like it knew something the world didn't. "They're going to try to make it right now," I said quietly. He nodded. "Because you're valuable to them again." But I was always valuable. They just didn't see it. He turned to me and smiled. "You always were. I saw it the second I met you." And in that moment, I didn't feel small anymore. I felt powerful. Because sometimes revenge doesn't come with shouting. It comes with silence and success. 3 days after my post went viral, my mother's tone completely changed. I opened my inbox to find a long, overly polite email with the subject line, "Let's reconnect, sweetheart." I didn't even make it past the first paragraph before rolling my eyes. "Darling Layla, your father and I have been thinking about you a lot lately. We feel terrible for the misunderstanding at lunch." Misunderstanding? They mocked me, laughed at my marriage, treated my life like a punchline. Now that the truth was out and public, they wanted to smooth things over like nothing had happened. But this time, I wasn't the naive daughter seeking their approval. This time, I was the woman who held the cards. Cole walked in, sipping his coffee, reading the Wall Street Journal like it was the morning comics. "Let me guess. They want to play nice now." I handed him the phone. He skimmed, chuckled. "Impressive. She didn't even spell entrepreneur right." We both laughed, but under it, there was a quiet truth. I wasn't just upset. I was disappointed. "I think I want to go," I said suddenly. Cole raised an eyebrow. "To their house?" I shook my head. "Number to Nicole's engagement party." That got his full attention. "She invited you?" "Oh, she will," I smirked. "Just wait." Because here's the thing. Nicole's fiancé, Trevor, was trying to raise capital for a startup. And guess who one of the largest private venture capitalists in the city happened to be? That's right, my husband. And Trevor had no idea. Cole leaned back in his chair, watching me closely. What are you planning? Nothing loud, I said calmly. Just clarity. That afternoon, I made a quiet call to Cole's firm using my married name, which none of my family ever bothered to learn, and requested a lunch meeting with Trevor on Cole's behalf. I set it up at the fanciest rooftop restaurant in the city, the one Nicole had once claimed was too exclusive for people like us. 3 days later, I walked in wearing a tailored navy jumpsuit, heels that clicked like authority, and my hair swept up like I owned the building. Trevor stood when he saw me. Layla, this is unexpected. I smiled sweetly. You're about to find out just how unexpected. We sat. I ordered a green tea. He ordered a scotch at 1 p.m. Nerves. I understand you're looking for investors, I said, folding my hands on the table. He nodded quickly. Yes, Nicole mentioned your husband might be interested. He might be, I replied, but only if you tell him everything, honestly. No exaggerations, no buzzwords, just facts. Trevor blinked. That's fair, I leaned in. And just so you know, Cole doesn't tolerate people who step on others to get ahead. He invests in integrity, not just ideas. Trevor went pale. Of course, I'd never... I waved him off politely. Save it for the meeting. Later that evening, Nicole called me. Her voice was sugar-coated and snake-thin. Hey, sis, guess what? Trevor told me he met your husband. You should totally come to the engagement party. It'd mean the world to us. I smiled at the phone. Boom. There it was. Of course, I said. We'll be there. The night of the engagement party, I didn't walk in as the family disappointment. I walked in as the woman they'd all misjudged and couldn't ignore anymore. Nicole wore her designer gown like it was armor. Her smile was forced, tight at the edges. The moment she saw us, her eyes zeroed in on Cole's watch, limited edition Patek Philippe, and the room shifted. People watched us now. Whispers curled around the hall like smoke. I was no longer the poor girl who married down. Now I was the storm that had just entered their glass house, and they knew it. The ballroom glittered with chandeliers and champagne glasses, but all I felt was heat, not from nerves, but from power. For the first time in my life, I was in their world, on my terms. Nicole clinked her glass loudly. Everyone, may I have your attention? The crowd turned, the usual performance beginning. As you all know, tonight is about love, family, and our future. Trevor and I are excited to announce our upcoming wedding and some incredible business news as well. My jaw clenched slightly. Here it comes. We're in early talks with one of the biggest private investors on the East Coast, she continued, grinning like she'd won the lottery. We're keeping details quiet, but let's just say it could change everything. Cole raised an eyebrow and leaned close to me. She really doesn't know. I sipped my drink. She's about to. As the applause faded, Trevor gestured toward us. And we're also honored to have Layla and Cole here tonight. Thank you for coming. It means a lot. All eyes swung to us. I stood, smiling. We're happy to be here, especially since we just came from a meeting where Cole made a final decision regarding an upcoming investment. The room hushed. Nicole's face twitched. After reviewing Trevor's pitch, I continued, Cole made the call this morning. Nicole's lips parted. Trevor swallowed. Cole rose beside me, adjusting his cufflink slowly. And I decided to pass. A murmur rippled through the guests. Trevor blinked. Whoa, what? You've got a good concept, Cole said simply. But I invest in people, not just ideas. I need partners who don't treat their future family like background noise. The room tilted, figuratively, maybe even literally. Nicole looked like someone had unplugged her. You can't be serious, she whispered, stepping toward us. Oh, I'm very serious, I said. You wanted me here tonight to parade my husband like a trophy. But you forgot. He's not the one who needed this. You are. You planned this, she hissed. You humiliated Mom, Dad. Now me? No, I replied. You did that all by yourself. All I did was stop staying silent. Nicole's voice cracked. You think this makes you better than us? No, I said. Just stronger. My mother approached then, tears in her eyes. but not from emotion. From embarrassment, regret, maybe, but mostly shame. "We just wanted you back," she said softly. "No, you wanted the version of me you could control, the one who kept her head down while you laughed, but I'm not her anymore." I looked around the ballroom. "For years, you treated my silence as weakness, but silence isn't weakness, it's restraint. And now that it's gone," I turned to leave. Cole took my hand, and together we walked out of that ballroom without looking back. Not because I needed revenge, but because I'd already won. 2 weeks passed. The fallout was swift. Nicole's engagement party made headlines on business blogs, not because of the romance or the venue, but because of what didn't happen: Cole's investment. Turns out word travels fast in venture circles. Trevor's name became radioactive. Nobody wanted to touch his project now. They said he lacked integrity. They were right. My father emailed a few days later, not to apologize, no, to ask for a meeting. I declined. Then came my mother. This time, she showed up at my building in person, wearing oversized sunglasses and pretending like she wasn't being watched. She sat in the lobby for an hour until my assistant gently asked her to leave. I didn't go down. I didn't need to. The lesson wasn't mine to learn anymore. One night, as I walked out onto our rooftop patio, the city buzzing below like a heartbeat, Cole stood with a drink in his hand, looking out across the skyline. "They're not going to stop trying," he said. "Not until they think they can spin this in their favor." "I know," I replied, "but they'll never be able to rewrite it." He turned to me, eyes soft. "You've changed." "I had to," I said. "They taught me to be ashamed of myself, my choices, even my marriage. But they didn't realize they were shaping something stronger." He smiled. "They thought you were fragile. But I was just waiting," I said, "waiting for the right moment to stop surviving and start living." We stood there for a while, the wind cool against our skin. "Do you regret anything?" he asked quietly. I looked up at him, remembering every insult, every laugh, every smug look from Nicole, every dismissive glare from my father. And then I thought of the woman I'd become, the one standing here in a city she now owned a piece of, the one married to a man who saw her when no one else did. "No," I said, "I just regret how long I stayed quiet." The next morning, I received one last message from Nicole. "I guess we deserve this. I don't know how to fix what we broke, but I'm sorry. It wasn't enough." But it was a start, and I replied with just one line. Sometimes, silence was the only kindness I had left. That was the last time she reached out. I never needed to destroy my family to find my power. I just needed to stop letting them define it. They called me useless. But the truth, I didn't marry down. I leveled up. And I took back everything they tried to steal: my voice, my worth, and my pride. Because some